You train with Josh Friend, right?
Yep. Love Josh.
We're gonna go live with him, some Baby Hulk, and we're live right now, by the way. So what up to everybody?
What's
But
up?
I fucked that up, the 2 hour time difference. I told him like, yeah, let's go on at like 8 or 9 for some reason. I did like 3 different shows that day, and so my dumb ass not realizing it's like fucking like 11 o'clock my time. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's fucking it sucked because me and Baby Hulk were powering through like 2 shows in a row at that point.
Yeah.
But what up, there, everybody? You guys are watching the Speakeasy podcast. It's your boy Easy. I'm live with comments from the Peanut Gallery. But what is your actual name, man? Because I only know you through Instagram, basically from us, talking our shit back and forth. But what do you go by? What do you go by?
So my actual name is Jordan Kurtz, but I'm also my nickname Kurtz EF Baby, and then obviously comments
Hey,
from the Peanut Gallery.
okay. So Lil Wayne fan, I could fucks with that.
Yep, was a huge Lil Wayne fan when I was a kid, and just growing up through time with friends and always listening to it. Obviously, then Kurtzy just
Yeah,
evolved into Kurtz EF Baby, and the rest history.
that's what's up, man. So if you want to credential yourself, you want to let people know, I guess, what you got going on with comments from the Peanut Gallery and your radio show and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, definitely. So first off, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. But I actually host the only live MMA radio show that's here throughout the mountain region on Mile High Sports Radio, along with the voice of LFA, Ron Kruk. So that's a pretty awesome gig that we do every single Wednesday night. You can catch us from 7 to 8 p.m. We've already on the show through only our first few episodes since we've been picked up and syndicated. We've had guests like Boss Rutan, Tito Ortiz, Benson Henderson, Dustin Jacoby, Glover
Damn,
Teixeira. So we've had some of the biggest and the most accoladed names throughout the history of the sport, and some of the up and coming guys. So it's a phenomenal show. We talk a little bit of a sports betting angle as well. We're sponsored by DenverSportsBetting.com. The show is called the MMA Plug. So please check us out if you have the opportunity there. There's also the handles
yeah,
on Instagram. There's the MMA Plug 303 as well. Excuse me, as well as DenverSportsBetting.com.
yeah. So is that only audio platformed? Like
So
the MMA
obviously
plug?
it goes through the radio on 104.7 FM through the Denver metro area, as well as AM 1340 radio. But you can also catch it live through the milehighsports.com. It's milehighsports.com, and then you just click the live stream when it's going from 7 to 8, and then usually always the next day it's uploaded through their podcast channels. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity to have it just
Yeah,
reach a whole new segment of audience that we weren't already getting before just through internet channels. You have a lot of people who are just going through at that 7 to 8 time slot, going through drive time traffic. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity, just for someone who's casually flipping through the channels just to be able to land on our show. And then, here we are talking the,
fucking you,
UFC
Turkey up, baby.
255 or something like that. It's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, man. I've been following you since we started our page. Really, I think you were one of the first pages to follow me, so I followed you back. So I've been kind of keeping an eye on you, like your journey since maybe around May or so. I think is when we got on Instagram, and yeah, and I saw you doing the radio show. Then I saw you do the commercial for the radio show, and I was like, yo, my man just killed that commercial for not like that for
Appreciate
that
it,
not
man.
being your profession. You know what I'm saying? Like you were fucking killing it. Like you were using your hands and shit. I'm like, I was happy. I was proud of you. So kudos to you, man. I
I'm
definitely got to check
Italian, bro. I speak with my
it
hands.
out. That's what's up.
Sometimes it's almost like the Ricky Bobby thing. Everybody always posts the memes when they see themselves in the interviews, but yeah, sometimes it's kind of like that. It be like that sometimes with Ricky. I don't know what to do with my hands, but not. But it's just. I mean, I'm passionate. I'm very expressive when I start to talk about some of these topics, and I mean, I'd rather not be able to handle it than be just a stiff.
Yeah. Yeah, you also train with a lot of these guys, a lot of the big name UFC guys, out there in Denver too. At is it X Factory or what are they?
Factory X. Yep. So
Factory X.
Factory
Yeah,
X out in Englewood. And, I'll preface it by saying that I'm very fortunate to be able to learn from, some of the best in the
yeah,
entire
dude.
game, the best in the world. Now, at that, I get smashed by all of those guys. Let's not get it twisted here.
Oh,
But
100%. Yeah,
within that, there is growth and there's learning. So I really do appreciate every single round that I get, every single rep that I get with those guys, your Austin Jones of the world, Yusuf Salals, your Jordan Titonis, just those guys who have put in the time also on the coaching end of things that have worked with me directly. I'm grateful for all of them, Professor Busy. And also you always got to throw the big nod to the general himself, Mr. Coach Montoya.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. It's dope too that like that's one of those environments that allow you to go live with those guys, because they are famous and some of them do have targets on their backs. Like I know I'm pretty cool with Eric Anders, and he posts all the time. People just calling him out straight up, like on his through Instagram or whatnot. It's like, bro, it's a fucking like UFC fighter. Like I don't know. How long have you been an MMA fan?
Oh, I've been an MMA fan for a long time, man. I really my first, I guess, fighter to really truly draw me in. Like I saw some fights earlier than that. Like I remember watching Vitor and Randy back when it had happened and all. But really, who drew me in initially was Matt Hughes, because I wrestled a little bit when I was younger. And then the guy who is now still to this day like my all-time favorite fighter, and just because of his style, his passion, his aggression, and his shit talking, was Nick Diaz. I mean, especially looking back to like that fight, the infamous fight with Robbie Lawler, where he's just sitting there like, Stockton, motherfucker,
That was
Stockton.
crazy. Yeah, because Robbie Lawler was like the Mike Tyson of MMA at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like he was just knocking everybody out. He was so young and like a lot of big hype behind him. And here's this skinny motherfucker just like going toe to toe with them, like eating his shots. That was pretty dope.
Yeah, and like where I come from, Pueblo, Colorado, it's a little bit of a different environment. So Nick Diaz just kind of spoke to all of those sort of, everything that it was there. Like just the raw like street fight almost sort of situation to it. Just like whatever. You might be bigger, you might be stronger, but what's up, bitch? Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something actually I want to talk to you about too. Having you live is we both came across that. I think I posted on my story option A, B, or C, and D as far as like a street brawl. And you and I are like in a debate. You took the team with Nick Diaz, if I'm not mistaken. Let me pull that up real quick. Actually, it's gonna take me a minute too, man. So feel free to talk about whatever too. Cause I don't even know where to fucking find.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like it had Nick, and then it also had Habib in it.
Yeah, it was like
I think so. It was, yeah.
Yeah, fuck. I'm gonna find it now. Damn it.
I can't remember who exactly was within that group, but I took that group over the side that had all. I mean, Tyson is Tyson. Like you alone have a chance against an entire room just with that man alone. Like let's be honest there. But I say that brawling is a different situation than just boxing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's no disrespect to the boxers and all that out there. I'm not trying to say that, but when you're in such tight quarters and in like a bar fight sort of situation, and someone just has to get a hold of you, or you're somebody like a Deontay Wilder who really and truly, like, let's be real, like he needs to be able to uncork a bomb. He has ridiculous power, but he needs to let that pendulum go. If you're inside a tight quarters, if you're in a phone booth with him, then and you're a suffocating, a guy like a Habib, you just got to get a body lock, and then he's going to bounce your face off of a fucking bar, and he's going to run your body all the way down through the entire till. You're going to have that entire slot bucket of waste that goes along that little basket where they're pouring all the shots, and you're going to be wasted by the time you get to the end of the bar.
Yeah, but in that same sense, see, I'd rather have the boxers. Give me Mike Tyson, Deontay Wilder all day, just because, like, bro, you just don't. I don't think there's time to grapple. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, you're in that tight space. How's you gonna ring them down that slot? There's all these motherfuckers in the way. And if you take someone down to grapple, like you're likely to get stomped out too, or just even stepped on in general from all these motherfuckers around you.
I mean, I say, I guess in the relation of spatial. Being able to fight in those tight quarters, I mean, yeah. Like I say, all you got to do is slip one. At the rate of when you're talking one of those guys against a bunch of Joe Schmo, Tom, Dick, and Harry's out there, then any boxer is just going to mop those guys with one single punch. But when you're talking about guys, especially when you're looking at a group that all had tough dudes who have tough chins, well, then I'm looking at those comparatively. And
so we're talking like if we're in a brawl with like everybody in that post is what you're saying, or just like with other skilled guys?
I was looking at it from all angles, man. Like I'm looking at it from, like guys that, okay, like they're going to be able to take something. And then, all right, well, then you're going to have a guy maybe who's running up on you with a bar stool or some shit. Well,
Yeah.
you have, a long armed, like a Diaz brother who just grabs him and fucking twists his arm in a, standing shoulder lock and just pops his shit right then and there. Just real, ninja type of shit.
I'm trying to. My bad. The whole time too, I was looking to find the meme so we could like pull it up. But yeah, man, I was thinking like more so like just fucking brawl. And so like motherfuckers everywhere. Like I'd rather have the people who are just like sleeping motherfuckers with one punch. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But I
Tyson,
also
Wilder.
say, like, yeah, again, Tyson, if you have Tyson in a group, you're always going to have a chance. Like that just is what it is. He's that big. He's that vicious. He's unreal in that regard. But
Here,
when you're
here we go.
talking,
I'm
yeah,
listening.
there it is.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to look at it as well. But yeah, I'm just saying, you have some other guys in the mix that what's see, I can't see.
Oh yeah, so we have. All right, so here we go. So,
Oh
this
yeah,
this is the
I
question.
think
This is
I
what we're
chose
talking about. If you guys are just tuning in, and everybody like watching, please feel free to comment. I sent you a YouTube link if you want to share that to Facebook or whatever too, so people hop in. But it says you're at a brawl, or you're at a bar, and a brawl is about to break out. They spelled break wrong, by the way. But anyway, what team are you with? We have Team A, that consists of George St. Pierre, Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, my man Francis Ngannou and Conor McGregor. Team B, John Jones, Nick Diaz, Nate Diaz, and the Soldier of God, Yoel Romero. Yeah, I'm confused too because sometimes Jorge talks about him, he says Joel. He uses straight up like J, just disregards the Y, but whatever. Team C, Stipe Miocic, Rumble Johnson, Israel Adesanya, and Habib. And then Team D, Mike Tyson, Deontay Wilder, Canelo. What's his nickname? I want to say
Tank Davis.
Yeah, Tank. There you go. Like you get the nickname Tank as a little dude like that. You got to be a beast, right?
Yeah, but I also think Tank's kind of a punk though myself. I mean, he's a good
He is.
boxer, don't
He
get
is a
me
little bit of a
wrong,
punk. You're right.
but bro, like if you're gonna like physically drag a woman out in a public place like that while you're on camera, like what goes on behind closed doors, you feel me?
1,000%, man. It's so crazy you see that. I mean, with Floyd too, man. Like it's crazy. Like Floyd, like flew by cancel culture, but in my eyes, he's always kind of been canceled because of the shit he's done.
Yeah, but I feel like if it were in this day and like when everything really like majorly popped off, it still wasn't in the current social justice warrior like cancel climate of social
Mm-hmm.
media. Like social media was a thing when it happened. Like so it
Yeah.
didn't like predate that, but it predated this entire like wave of cancellations.
Yeah. Like my son was watching the fights with me last night, and my girl posted like a video of it because he has like his own like little recliner, and they posted it, and some people were like, "You let your kid watch the fights? Oh my god!" I'm like, yeah, like he's also gonna be like, he's also gonna have a coach who teaches him how to, when to fight, when not to fight, and he's gonna be around the communities and teach him the same things too. Like, I mean, I don't even care, but people would even comment on someone else's parenting when it's not something crazy like that. It's like blows my mind.
Like, if you have a different philosophy, then that's fine, but don't tell somebody else how to raise theirs. It's just, like that's the way I feel with it.
Yeah,
but I don't have kids, so I can't really speak on that.
You're good, bro. Definitely a blessing, man. But yeah, we got 3 people watching. My man, Curtsy F Baby is going with Team B, and I was a solid like Team D dude. But
so I can definitely speak to it now that I see them in front of me and remember it now. So you have to think of it in this sense too, like how many different like brawl situations have we like Diaz brothers are a known commodity in a street fight, in a brawl. Like that's a known commodity. Whether you're talking the Tyler Diamond situation, to the Habib situation, to all the Connor dust ups, to just any other, obviously the very first on network TV back in the day was Strikeforce when they brawled with Mayhem Miller in the middle of the cage. Those guys are a known commodity when it comes to brawls. Yoel Romero, I mean, elite everything. He has one hit fuck you power. Like, and if you want, then if you did tie up, well, that's also a silver medalist as far as Olympic wrestling goes. So you want to tie up, he'll just ankle pick you and just drag you out. Then you have the greatest mixed martial artist of all time in that first quadrant with John Jones.
Yeah.
And especially as far as like size wise, if you're going to talk, if you just were to put out a list of your goats, he's the biggest of all of the list of the goats. So whatever, if you take your average of your top threes of whatever, I feel like John can't be outside of anybody's top three if you're talking realistically. Maybe you don't call him the GOAT, but he's not outside of the top three. Is that fair?
No, 1,000% fair. Yeah.
If we're talking on that side of things, he is then the biggest out of all of them.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like, I wish, bro, maybe I could have been more planned with it. I just wanted to go live because I was already down in the studio, aka my motherfucking basement. But yeah, because this shit's like this shit can go deep. We gotta put some context behind it. Maybe go over it again. Because like my thoughts right away is like I want to knock out the most people and get the fuck out of there before cops come and shit, right? So like I want Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder. Like, yeah, Canelo's dope and Tank is dope too, and they knock people out as well. But like those two motherfuckers alone, bro, are just known to have like the hardest hands in history of heavyweight boxing. Like, I mean, I know there's like Foreman and whatnot, but like, wouldn't you say Wilder and who are the top two guys? I guess heavyweight boxing, like knockout wise, it gotta be Tyson and Wilder, right? Or no? Am I tripping and saying that?
I would probably say just by the numbers alone, but there was always the argument though with Wilder too, and it's no disrespect to Wilder, but he in boxing period anymore, those records are so padded, bro.
Oh yeah,
like to and again, yes, he deserves the recognition for getting to his what is he like 39? He had 39 knockouts or something like that before even. But if you look at the combined record of some of those, and especially when those guys are on the come up, because I also cover boxing too, and I mean, you could just see that it's very different in boxing than it is in MMA. Like if you have a kid who's a budding prospect, that kid's gonna have 3 or 4 fights against just calling for what they are, respect to the dudes who make the walk, but they're cans. There are these guys that are 6 and 22 that are 45 that are still just going out there to make a couple of grand on this paycheck. Like they know that they're gonna go in and get their ass whipped or go get sparked by this kid, but that's an extra $3,000 that they're gonna make that month. I
will say, in fairness to Deontay Wilder, though, he has always like sought out the toughest challenge, even back when it was like Ortiz and to be like what was the heavyweight division before that really too?
He's up there, as far as you know what I mean. Like now that he's up there, yeah, he's tried to seek out some of the toughest names in that regard, but it's also been his detriment that I think that it's in one way, it's incredible, but in another way, once he finally fought a true technical, just tactician, he got exposed because he's in my opinion, he's the greatest one-trick pony of all time. He has that big menacing right hand because if you think about it in the fights with who's the Cuban that he knocked out, the dude that dropped him, like he got hurt in that fight and he had to come back and he had to uncork a bomb to be able to finish. You know what I mean? He got hurt. He got dropped earlier on in that fight. So that at times has worked against him. Like he's that guy who has to get that one off. And then once Tyson Fury came back and once he realized what the power situation was in that second fight, you really saw what the difference was or where the gap was technically, in my opinion. We're talking two guys that there's no two guys that are that big in stature at that level, 6'7" versus 6'9". You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think
I'm a big Deontay Wilder fan, but bro, like the excuses I feel like are just they're
crazy. CTE.
They're hurting his credibility. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it was fucking immediately hurt his credibility. There's no credibility to. I mean, there was one I think I heard another like big MMA coach speak on that he could see it being that was is Black Cobra. Shouts out to Dewey Cooper. He's been on the show before too, but the egg weights in the glove or something. Some people were talking about the glove was like a little bit weird or something like that. But those skill set wise, I think we saw in the first fight that like technically, Fury was a more sound fighter going into it, and the fact that he was able to switch things up and like come at it with a whole new game plan and strategy and walk away with the win is just like it's testament to how great he is. And shouts out to Crunk Boxing Gym in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Fury had to come see us, see what's up before he came through it and beat my man Deontay Wilder. But I just want to shout out to people watching too, because I love when people comment and tap in and give input. But John Martin, that's a heavyweight MMA fighter out here in Michigan, and then my man Apex Underdog out in California, man, does a lot of highlight tapes. Shouts out to you too, man. Thanks for tapping in.
Thank you all for watching.
Yeah, man. I wish they were watching when we were doing the fucking. I guess I could put it back up, huh? I closed it out. I can't put it back up.
Like I say, it's an interesting debate one way or the other with those, but I don't know. Like I say, I'm hyper analytical with my brain and with my thinking on that. So my thought was I just need the most brutal overall, like ready to bang it out until you die sort of warriors out there. And when I saw Diaz brothers and it's a brawl, let's roll.
Oh yeah. Oh look, they're tapping back in too. All right, let me fucking pull it up then. Because this is what we're talking about, guys. I know everyone's had to see this meme by now, man. The fucking like, which team would you rather have going into a brawl? But we definitely gotta put some context behind it because like it depends. Like, what's your goal in the brawl? It's like just fucking kill everybody in the bar, or like to get the fuck out the bar. That's my goal. I want to get out before the cops come. I want no policia.
There's so many variables though, man. There's so many variables.
So many, dude.
You know, are the how many people are there? Are there bar stools? Are there pool sticks? Are there we're talking about all that bar fight like that. I think a lot of people who are John Wayne Parr fans know his story of like the massive scar on the back of his head where he talks about, hey, I'm a very accomplished and skilled fighter in sport in this controlled environment here. Like I got hit in the back of my head with a bar stool that split me wide open. Like, so yeah, he had to like have his head and like his scalp sewn back down because he got busted in the back of the head in a street fight.
Yo, that's what. Speaking of that, you actually trained with a guy who had a situation similar to that. Big in MMA was Anthony Smith. Did you ever get to talk to him about that situation? That guy who tried breaking in his house.
Oh yeah, man. That was that's a scary situation for anybody to deal with. And right then and there, it's I feel like that has to be a real gut check moment. And right in that moment of adversity, you saw who the real Lionheart is. You saw that man who was ready to fight and defend his family to his very last breath in that moment when an imminent threat was present.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy, man. But it was crazy, like hearing him recall the story about like not being able to like fucking knock the guy out, or just how like strong he was in the moment because he was like on drugs and shit like that. And he's like, he was talking about like how like fucking like he's like all the training and shit that I prepared for, like I was just blown. It sounded like he was just fucking like mind fucked by the situation, which it sounds like that way too. Like fuck, like that shit's crazy. Ghost Nate, let's go Panthers.
You gotta think, man. Like you gotta think in that's just.
Yeah, RIP my Lions. I want them to lose out, man, so we get a higher draft pick. But we're gonna say my bad.
No, man, that's a tough loss. 20-0. That skunked is never good. Skunked is never good. But no, in that sort of scenario, man, you've seen a lot of the viral videos that have been out there of some of these people that are on whatever drugs out there where they're busting through being tased 3 and 4 different times, or there's like an entire huddle of people trying to restrain someone and they just like to take the Pineapple Express line, they just flexed and bust out. Like they just are on an unhuman level of strength that and they're also not feeling pain.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, just because that motor's just keeping on running. They're essentially like like,
and they're just strong as bitch fuck too, bro. Like I don't know if you ever saw the one, the crackhead, he's like he fucking picks up the refrigerator when I got hops on this bicycle and he's just riding with one hand on a bicycle with a fucking fridge on his shoulder. Like Jesus Christ, man, it's wild, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Fucking nuts. Yeah, do you watch other sports? I mean, we're talking about football. If Detroit gets Trevor, we won't get him, man. I'm not kidding.
I mean, I used to be a big fan of team sports and watched a ton of sports all across the board. But I'll be at this point, I'll watch a little bit of football and fighting. Like I'm
Yeah,
so immersed in the fight world between all my different gigs within it that's what I watch the majority of.
yeah,
Football is a little bit of a release, but it also is. I'll be the first one to say it's a little bit harder to follow when the Broncos aren't as promising. And
fair.
it's not trying to sound like a fair weather fan or anything like that, but it's
No,
just
you're good.
when you have a consistently bad product out there, like it's tough to watch.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
when it's when there's things that I feel like are controllables when you're talking coaching or front office decisions or stuff like that. Like
you.
all due respect to the players on the field, hey, you got to go out and do what you got to do. But in the sense of, well, you have a young quarterback who is out there getting just creamed every single week. Well, why don't you do more work to bolster the offensive line? Like, why don't you do more things schematically to try to protect him, especially like Drew Lock's situation with the Broncos, where he early on in the season had an AC injury. Well, why wouldn't you try to do everything that you possibly can to make sure that he stays upright? We had the greatest quarterback of this current generation retire early, way before his time, because he just got beat up so bad with Andrew Luck.
Bro, I'm
That
the same
that
way
that's
in Detroit, man. I like after
that
going
has
to
to
our
be
bye week,
so frustrating for Detroit, bro.
bro,
Like
for
between
years.
Barry Sanders to Calvin Johnson to all the, and there's the beef with Calvin Johnson right now for $1 million. Like for $1 million, if you're the Ford family, you wipe
Wipe
your
your
ass
ass
with
with
a
that.
million dollars.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's fucking crazy, dude. And I think too, like we this guy's been fucking terrible since he's been here, the head coach here, Matt Patricia. And we went to a bye week after he exemplified how terrible he is as a coach, and even showed some poor leadership and like blaming the team he got. I don't know if you got to see that, but I think it was like week 3 or 4. He was like, "Yeah, well, I'm working with what I was handed with. It's like it's a tough job, whatever." And it's like the guy before you won more games. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you mean you got handed a bad hand? You know, like what? And you're a leader. You can't talk like that as a leader. Like you got to take responsibility of that shit. So like after that, I checked out for the season for the Lions. Like I ain't gonna lie, today, I mean I'm sick with the Rona and whatnot, so I was kind of sleeping on and off. But I even watched the red zone. I didn't watch the Lions game, bro. I didn't watch it like straight through because it's fucking shit. Why is this guy still our head coach right now? You know what I'm saying, like it's like you said, I can't support a bad product. I just at this point, it's a waste of my. I'm not investing my time in that. You know.
Yep. And bro, like for the Broncos, I guess maybe it's a thing that I grew up spoiled in a large sense for many years. Like when I was a kid, the Broncos were good every year, like because we had John Elway as a quarterback. And
That's
then
fucking
we
crazy.
we had just we would fall short of the Super Bowl, obviously, for
Yeah.
a lot of years. But then by the time that I was like those peak years where you're like that kid fan, like that just golden years of your childhood, like 9, 10
Peyton
years old,
Manning,
around in
Von
there.
Miller.
That's when that's when we won the 2 Super Bowls in the 90s with
Oh,
Terrell Davis, and then with Terrell Davis and John Elway, as the
oh yeah, I
back to
forget
back
you're older than me.
MVPs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had those, and so I mean, sometimes it was a thing like those 2 years. Yeah, we had a couple of stinkers for a while, but then we were competitive for a bit. Jake Plummer had a couple of good years. I think he got a raw deal for Jay Cutler. Was never really a fan of Jay Cutler. Like people
Yeah.
forget that Jake the Snake Plummer took us to the AFC Championship. Jake the Snake Plummer was the first quarterback to beat Tom Brady in playoffs. That
Yeah.
is something that not a lot of people remember. And Jake the Snake Plummer is a massive pothead, and I have to side with him for that.
That's dope. I didn't know that. You gotta get him on your show.
Shit, I would love to have the snake on my show someday.
Is that his actual nickname? Is that what he went by back then? Jake the Snake?
Yeah, Jake the Snake. He's been known as Jake the Snake ever since he was at ASU way back in the day. Then through when he was an Arizona Cardinal, and then obviously through when he was with the Broncos. But he was one of those guys who was an incredible dual threat quarterback before it was really a big thing to the sense it is now. Like with some of those RPOs or him being able just to pull the ball down and draw. a lot of the thought, and I don't know how true this is, but the rumor to why he was nicknamed the Snake was because sometimes through scrambling, just the way that he would, maybe not
Slither out of
necessarily
there.
see the coverage, but then he would just slither out. He would just slither out and be able to run for a first down.
That's dope to have like a lineage and some history like that with your football team. Because I have like John Kitna, Calvin Johnson. I wasn't even old enough for Barry Sanders, bro. Like, I mean, Calvin Johnson was a shit though for sure. Someone's
Yeah.
tapping in. Hey, this is my man. He
Yep.
tapped in live, baby Hawk. I'm trying to think of his handle on Twitch was hilarious. It's something Uncle. I don't know. Whatever. Shouts out to you, man. Jake the Snake Plumber. I did not know that he was that cold.
Yeah, man. Jake Plummer was legit for a long time.
Did he play
Then
for Tampa a little bit too, or no?
no, that was Jake Delhomme.
Okay.
Yeah, Jake Delhomme, he had a couple of good years though too, man. Him and Steve Smith was a pretty electric connection. They went to the Super Bowl and got beat by the Patriots, but that was a solid anytime that you can make it all the way to the dance, like
Yeah.
that's a solid year. You were able to overcome some extreme adversity from time to time, especially being able to perform in the postseason. But then we get Peyton Manning after having some years of being
Yeah,
down
dude,
for a
lucky
while.
motherfuckers,
Well,
man.
let me preface that of we had Tebow mania, which like God, that drove me wild, like drove me fucking crazy sometimes. Like, yeah, he found ways to win, but I mean, you have to be able to throw the ball in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like you can't you can only pray to Jesus so much, my man. Like that he isn't gonna do shit when you have to play Tom Brady in Foxborough, as we found out after we beat the Steelers that year,
Yeah. Oblivious Uncle was that Twitch handle I was talking about. Yeah. So like, did you enjoy the time though with Tim Tebow? Because like at least he's kind of exciting, right? Like, or no?
Yes
You
and
were like,
no.
nah, I don't.
Like it was every week it was just like you had to be a fan of defensive football, I feel like, to a certain extent, because you weren't going to see a whole lot of points from the Broncos. Like we were maybe going to be winning, like 17-14 ball games sort of situations. We had to have Marion Barber when he was with the Bears fucking up and stepping out of bounds when he should have just ran the clock out. Like situations like that worked in our favor to back into the playoffs at 8-8,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
then
remember my Lions
somehow
actually put it on you
figure
there.
out how you beat the Steelers in overtime with that quick
That
slant.
was
Basically,
crazy, dude.
like
That
people say,
was
"Oh
the most
yeah,
Tim
Tim
Tebow shit
Tebow
ever,
threw the
too.
pass." Like, no, Tim Tebow threw a quick slant. Demarius Thomas ran 80 yards.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Like, that's Demarius Thomas just being a freak athlete that went. I feel like he got a lot of criticism that wasn't due. Like that guy was a ridiculous athlete.
Yeah, that was when I watched it, I was like, God must be real. I was like, Tim Tebow did all that damn praying, and like that just happened. Like, holy shit.
Oh, bro, you're not bullshitting. Like I was remembering, like, bro, if we win a fucking Super Bowl with Tim Tebow as our quarterback, like I'm going to church tomorrow.
Yeah, he was saying like, yeah, that was fucking hilarious. He sponsors God. That's Tim Tebow's
Yeah,
number one
like
sponsor.
I'm a believer. I
Yeah,
need that kind of Jesus in my life. Nah.
yeah.
But then after that, Peyton
He's
Manning
like, oh,
comes into the fold.
yeah. What were you say?
Yeah, after that, then Peyton Manning comes into the fold. So, we really and truly, if we didn't have they call it the Mile High Miracle, but I call it the Mile High Nightmare, like the complete fuck up from Raheem the Nightmare Moore. He called himself that's another thing that always bugged me was self-proclaimed nicknames. When he called himself the Dream, like, nah, man, like you got to be given a nickname.
Yeah,
But then if he doesn't get burnt, like how are you a safety getting burnt in a prevent defense when that play to Jacoby Jones lets the Ravens score, obviously in overtime, then they go on and because I really truly believe if we beat Ravens in that game, the Broncos would have ran the table for the rest of the season. Like Peyton Manning in that offense was just so good. And then
yeah.
the next year, that's when they had the historically significant season on offense.
You got beat by the Seahawks.
Just wreck shop all the way, and then got their shit pushed in the Super Bowl.
It was crazy because when you guys actually won, it was like at Peyton Manning's like worst. It's the worst I've ever seen Peyton Manning. He was throwing ducks, and then you guys won the fucking Super Bowl. I was like, How? Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, that's why when people say like Tom Brady's a GOAT, I'm like, I can't name one thing he does better than any other quarterback. 'Cause Peyton's always been cerebrally superior. You know what I'm saying? Like Aaron Rodgers, in my mind, has been a superior thrower of the ball. He's always kind of been like he's not a bad quarterback by any means. I don't want to disrespect him. I don't want his fanboys to come at me like that. But I mean, whatever, bring them on.
Oh, you fucking homer in Detroit. You're just against him because he's a Packers guy.
No. Oh yeah, no. I'm saying goat. Brady's not the goat. I'm saying like he's
Oh,
just like
oh, I thought you were meaning
uh,
Aaron Rodgers. I thought you were meaning
yeah,
Rodgers.
no. Rodgers is fucking amazing, dude. I can't
Yeah,
up
greatest
until
talent.
Mahomes, the best thrower of the football I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, and I think Mahomes has to be able to sustain the test of time. I feel like to get to that
Fair,
Rodgers level, just because, bro, like ever since Aaron Rodgers first took a snap as a starter, he's been that dude. As has been Mahomes. Like so,
facts.
let's not
Yeah,
get it twisted. But the timeline, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like Aaron
yeah.
Rodgers has been doing it since basically the late 2000s.
I'm big on that too. Like DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like was getting so much like disrespect, and then he got the Hail Mary. Everyone's like, "Oh, is made him like a 99 mad." I'm like, this guy's been great. You know what I'm saying, like, you guys like
Been great.
literally
He's
were
been
putting
great.
Michael Thomas over him after like one good year. You know, it's like DeAndre Hopkins has been this fucking guy. Like, what are you saying? Like, I did like a 3-word reaction to all the games. I was like, stop the disrespect for my man Hopkins. He's been fucking killing it. But speaking of consistency and test of time, you're throwing some shade on a newcomer in the UFC, man. My man Joaquin Buckley. You
I'm
think
not throwing
James?
disrespect on him, man. I just don't think that he's on that level with Kraus, bro. Like I just don't. I think that he has explosive power. I think that he is a kid who has a bright future. But I also think that he has some known flaws in his game right now. That's
Yeah,
just that's just where he's at. He's young. He's only like 26 years old, and that's a big difference of a guy who's at like 17 total professional fights versus a guy who's around 40 professional fights. And especially those guys who are in their, early to mid 30s who are coming out of the Midwest, like, bro, like if they have 40 fights on their pro record, how many didn't actually go into the record books from all of those, those amateur days and just those weekend fill-in sort of situations out there for smokers and whatnot? Those Midwestern dudes are a completely different breed from the old school era.
so all right, but so like, what obvious holes do you see in his game to say? Because you're saying he's not at James Cross's level, but in my opinion, like, what is James Cross's level? In all due respect, you know what I'm saying, like, he's never been like a top tier guy to like, I guess, definitively say, he's a level above a guy like Joaquin Buckley.
So I say, as far as with Buckley is he loads up on a lot of shots. So he at times he kind of has a hitch when I mean, but the equalizer is with some of the guys that he's fought is he has the power to be able to at times not hit you with a technically correct shot, but he still has enough power to where it's going to do damage, to where it's something that is going to, obviously be able to hurt someone. He does have some solid traditional martial arts technique and skill, but it's also paired with a little bit of brawler, a little bit of street fighter, if
Mm-hmm.
that's fair to say, in terms of his boxing. So in the sense of saying that, is he all the time with his jab? Is he crisp in and crisp out? No, he's not. And I think that Impa tagged him a couple of times in that fight, and that was a pretty even exchange back and forth. He just happened to off a Impa held that catch of the kick for too long, and he capitalized on it. You have to give him credit for that 100%, not taking anything at all away from him. But when you saw a guy who is rangy and who is able to play that game and is very technical, like a Kevin Holland is, you saw what that result was. You know what I'm saying? He was a
So,
guy who was able to pick him apart until he was able to knock him out.
all right. So, do you think James Cross is on Kevin Collins' level? You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't you say between the two, like that Kevin Holland maybe it's possible to say like Kevin Holland's a better fighter than James Cross?
Oh, I think that James Krause has one of the best fight IQs in the entire sport. I think that that's not even something that can be questioned. I think his fight IQ is one of the best in the entire game. Like his ability to recognize what someone's strengths are and to not fall into what that person's strengths are. I think people take a little bit of recency bias to the conversation just by watching his last fight, but they forget that the knee injury that he sustained basically negated his entire style. James is huge on movement and being able to switch his stances to be able to go in and out clean with his exchanges. And once his knee was blown, he had no ability to move. He had no way to be able to shake in and out and get himself off the center line the way that he likes to while he switches and sets up his traps. He's a very trap setting heavy guy. He's going to be able to gather a lot of intelligence and work on the volume side of things. He's a pace heavy guy. He's going to put a pace on you. He doesn't have that one hit knockout power the way that Buckley does, but he's going to be able to make you miss more times than not. He's not afraid to stand in there and get dirty with you, just like he did with Trevin Giles at times, and that's a much bigger man.
Bigger man than it's middleweight, wasn't that one or no?
Yeah, that one was at middleweight, and that Buckley doesn't have to cut weight to get to middleweight. Buckley steps on it, 182, 183.
He waited 182 for this last fight, 3 pounds.
Yeah, he's drinking water while he's walking up to the scale. But when you look at Trevin Giles is a big fucking man, bro. Like by the time that Trevin Giles gets back in on that next night, he's already back to 205, 210. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a very, very big man.
It's Trevin Giles, but he don't have power like my man Buckley though. To be fair.
Yeah. I would say that's fair to say. He doesn't have that one hit knockout power that way. But again, when it comes down to the fight IQ, I don't see that James isn't just going to stand there and let that guy tee off. He's going to be great with his head movement and move around. Like you have a guy like a Jorge Masvidal who said that James Krause was one of his toughest fights that he's ever had.
Jorge is so fucking tactical striking.
So
my favorites.
When you hear that sort of recognition from peers that are on that level, for him to come out there, like he didn't have to say that. He didn't have to use James' name, or what does he owe him after beating him in a fight? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But for him to, out of all of his entire 50 fights of a resume, when he was asked, that's the one name that he was able to say right away. I feel like that has to have merit.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know
that was in an interview a few months ago that he was talking. But yeah, he mentioned James, and then he had mentioned, I can't remember. I don't know if it was of recent, like I can't even remember who all. I think Eve Edwards was one of them.
Yeah, Eve Edwards. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I just don't remember like the.
But yeah, like But that was one of a couple of names that he was able to say right off the top. So I feel like that's pretty special company, and just knowing him and knowing his mind. And then you also have to think of it this way: when you're talking about him fighting, you don't see James fight all that often because he doesn't have to fucking fight. James fights because he loves to fight. James is rich outside of fighting. James has so many other things that he doesn't have to worry about him actually getting in there and competing. He has a dozen of fighters underneath his roster by itself. You know what I mean? Like everybody that fights out of Glory in Kansas City, like he's built that gym. He's built that team. You feel me? Like that's him from the coaching side. So if you have that level of acumen from the coaching side to be able to recognize what is going on out there and be able to create a platform for success for that many other people who are underneath you, then you're able to see that from a general perspective yourself once you're in there and doing your own breakdowns. Obviously, he has a great supporting cast that he looks up to and tears up to, Alua Mark. That's someone who I feel like is an ace in anybody's corner to have somebody like Coach Montoya. But James himself is just a very high fight IQ, very smart and intelligent guy when it comes to being in there in the cage. When you have people like, and sometimes the disrespect comes her way, but I feel like she's shown leaps and bounds of improvement. And Megan Anderson, who is supposed to be fighting for a world title, I don't know why people throw so much shade. She had that one hiccup in recent history against Felicia, but other than that, she's looked great. Her last fight, she straight up had that knockout. Like Megan is for real. Megan is a beast, and she's only getting better.
She's a beast before the hype, like coming in, and she's a big girl too. Like she's got and her striking's phenomenal. But back to the James Krause and stuff like that. my whole argument with Buckley, and having a shot is like the great equalizer, like you said, like those shots like do land at times, and all it does is it takes one. And like I look at a guy like Francis Ngannou, where it's like technically sound. As much as I love the guy, what I'm saying, it's not really there.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
kind of just swinging them, what I'm saying, like when he
But
fucking
bro, we're
lands that,
talking
I mean,
apples
even
and oranges,
Wilder,
though. Like I just don't think he's Francis. Like again, all due respect to Buckley, he has ridiculous power, but I just I mean, I think Francis is like a once in a generation sort of guy in where his power is. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah, I mean he's a heavyweight too, but I mean
Yeah,
I'm saying just like the
but
power
that's not a bad comparison. That's not a bad comparison.
yeah.
But again, just like circling back to it with we've what I was talking to you about it earlier. We haven't seen Buckley drug into deep waters. We haven't seen him go up against a high level grappler, someone who is going to be a good wrestler or for sure a good cage wrestler, someone who's going to push him up against the fence and make him have to work off, someone who you might not be able to hold him down every single time that you take him down, but you're going to make him have to work himself back up. You're going to make him have to keep on getting up. And how long with a guy who is that big and muscled up, that much muscle mass requires a lot of oxygen to be able to continue to maintain at that high of a pace. So how long are you able to maintain that pace while you are constantly be getting taken down and having to get back up, or being pushed off of the cage and having to get yourself out of these clinch situations to free yourself up to where you can throw? There's only so much gas in the tank that someone who carries that much muscle mass is going to be able to carry.
I would use that argument too. I think with Buckley, that's the one thing too that's shown out to me, other than like obviously the knockouts with Buckley, is like his gas tank with that muscle is there. Like I believe, I don't know what round the Kasaganai knockout came in, but I was just watching it before, leading up to the knockout. I was like, how the fuck is this guy still like swinging like at the pace he is and as hard
But
as
they
he
were
is?
just throwing though. You know what I mean?
But you still tire out. You know what I'm saying? Like you're still gonna
You
fucking like
do,
wear
but
out.
it's different when you're having to go through takedown situations, when you're going through clinch exchanges. Like I say, if you do get taken down and you do spend a second, on your back or whatever, bro, like that's a lot of energy that you have to expend to try to get back up. That's much
No, yeah.
more than if you're just standing and banging, especially if you're in a the thing is if you're throwing and you're banging it out and you're hitting a lot, your stamina is not decreasing as much as if you're swinging and missing.
Yeah, I agree.
So to be fair, yes, he was throwing with a lot in that Impa fight, but they were also hitting each other a lot, or they were at least, maybe if they weren't landing flush, they were still landing on something. They were catching glove, they were catching shoulder, they were catching some part of the body that was absorbing that blow, so that energy was able to not go just completely from yourself. You know what I mean? So like that's where I say anybody, you go out there and you throw some bombs and you swing and miss. That's going to much more rapidly deplete the tank. So someone who is evasive with their defensive tactics and is going to make you swing and miss, that is going to be much more depleting to your gas tank, especially someone who understands range and distance and also the different tools and weapons that come with those different ranges. When we're talking the tools that you have to be able to employ when it comes to striking, you have your long range tools, you have your mid range tools, and you have your short range tools. If you have someone who knows how to neutralize what that guy's mid range tools are with his overhands and with those big looping punches, then you're able to neutralize what he's able to do if you can understand what that distance is and how to use your tools to combat his.
I could see yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm more specifically, I guess MMA grappling is definitely different than jiu-jitsu. But as a big guy in jiu-jitsu, like, and that's one thing I enjoy most about jiu-jitsu is like you can find your moments to catch your breaths, and grappling and whatnot. But I understand, I guess, getting back up and getting punched in the face at the same time too would change things. I wouldn't throw Buckley like completely out of the loop that he, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Buckley is a better fighter. Not I guess I see what you're saying with James Krause being skill wise. We see him showcase more things, but as far as like in the fight, because of situations like Francis Ngannou and Deontay Wilder, where we've seen him go against better like technically sound guys, but
I'm still listening. I'm just grabbing my Mophie real quick.
You're good, bro. But they still get like KO'd through the end of it. I feel like that's like completely possible with Joaquin Buckley in that fight. But I fucking hope it happens now, especially after talking about it. It'd be exciting. The only thing I hope though is that the hype and the shit talk, or just the anger of it all, doesn't get to Buckley and gets him off his game, because that's even more in James's favor. Obviously, being the better technical sound guy.
Oh, bro, and the thing is if you think for a second that that's not going to be something that continues to be a factor or play in with them, like James is a chess player, bro. Like this
Yeah.
is chess, not checkers for him. So they already have a little bit of beef going, and you saw how visceral the reaction was when it got brought up to Buckley
Dude,
last
yeah,
night.
man. Like a total change of character. He's sitting there
How
talking to
much
Joe
is
Rogan,
that
one
going
of
to
the
keep
biggest
on going?
stars ever, out there, let alone MMA, and you're just talking like a madman, yelling at him. I'm like, oh man, you got to chill a little bit.
Yep. Like I don't know. Like I say, I full disclosure, like I'm obviously somewhat biased. Like James is one of my mentors. He's a friend. He's a guy who I look up to in many ways and have for a while. But I just think that as a whole, when you're talking any veteran out there who has the diversified skill set like James does, I mean he's a high level black belt in jiu-jitsu with excellent submission skills. He's a great MMA wrestler. He's a guy who can stand and strike with anybody out there. Obviously, like we already mentioned, he doesn't have the knockout power like a guy like Buckley does. So that's, if you get into a firefight with a guy like that, you just, like I said, you're playing with fire. Sometimes you get burnt.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I forgot that you're that close to James. That explains all of it now.
I got to ride for my boy, man.
Yeah, that does change. So Joaquin trains out here in Michigan at Lansing, so that's kind of my bias as well.
Yeah, and like I say, it's not against, but I've heard from just other people in gyms, and it's not just from James.
Yeah,
I've been fortunate to meet a lot of people all across the country within the MMA space. I've
yeah.
just kind of heard the way that he is in the gym at times, which whether it is or not, or maybe that's just people's perceptions. I can understand why people wouldn't want him coming around with their gym if all of those reports or what people have said has any sort of factual basis.
No, 1,000%. I agree. Um,
And I can also understand and this is just me speak. I've never talked to James about this or anything, so I don't anybody confuse it for that. But if I'm a coach who has a team that has an established culture and someone who has allegedly gotten kicked out of a couple of other gyms and is also
I
a
don't even,
guy
I don't even kicked out
that
of some.
that again I don't know that for a fact. That's just
Yeah,
what I had heard, was that from a couple of that was a thing where it was just from whether it was just a heated exchange of words at the time or what. I don't know the exact details, but that's what I had heard. So if there's any sort of basis to that, or if there was any just sort of situations of him being a bad culture guy for a gym, in terms of starting fights in the gym or something to that effect,
oh
and
yeah, no,
obviously
no. James
as it
spoke
is,
on that. He was on. I watched Stay with Mike Swick, and even earlier in the week, I watched on James Lynch's show. He spoke on, like, that was like the stories, I guess, that he's heard around Joaquin, and that's why he didn't want him to, because like you said, he built his culture a certain way in his gym, and I understand that wholeheartedly. Like I totally get his side, and like, I guess, not wanting him in his gym, or like not liking him for shit talking, arising from that. And I get Buckley being upset a little bit, but more so James's side. But it's just all around, man. Fucking, it's there, and I want this fight to fucking happen now, man.
well, I like it when the beef is real, man.
It's real, yeah. And the cool
Like
thing too is, like,
when it's two dudes who really are really about it, like, hey, let's get it. But
hey,
then the
shout out to
best
I'll
part,
do this. Tapping in. He's a funny guy to follow on Instagram for sure. What were you gonna say?
nice.
I'm sorry.
I think that right then and there, like, hey, that wasn't a bad promo, the way that Buckley stayed, like he wasn't going to give his name any sort of shine or whatever. And then
Yeah.
Rogan obviously said it. But I don't care what side that you're on or who you're rooting for in this, bro. You got to love Krause's Instagram post right after it.
What'd he say? I missed it.
he put up like one of his fight pictures, his UFC fight pictures in his gear, and it said "Say my name," and it had
Hey,
the smiley face with the money in it.
that's dope. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, yeah, no. So for him to
Yeah.
put that "Say my name" like that, like it was like Heisenberg type shit. Like, yeah, I'm that motherfucker. Say my name, bitch.
Nah, man, it's definitely a fight that has to happen. Speaking of fights that did happen, though, what'd you think of the card last night? I have a question real quick, actually, before we get into that. This is James Krause's post. Anybody that was just listening to Krutzy F Baby say my name with the money symbol. It is gangster. He's kind of like the boogeyman, right? Say my name enough times, I'll appear.
Yep.
But I, I was gonna say the prelims last night were fucking fire, man. How do you compare those to, I guess, the main card, like afterward?
I mean, I thought the entire night was good for its entertainment value. Obviously,
1000%.
the Shogun fight was heartbreaking. I mean,
Yeah, man.
as a kid or as a guy who has watched Shogun from all the way back to the Pride days, way back when, seeing him have to tap to strikes, it was like that, like, oh my, it was like when Old Yeller died type of moment. You know what I'm saying? Like when Mufasa died. Like, oh man, it's getting dusty in this motherfucker real quick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like that. So that one was good. Then I figured that in the Calvillo and the Chikagian matchup, I thought that was gonna. I bet the over on that one just because I figured those were two volume strikers that didn't have the knockout power to be able to put each other away, and their jujitsu is both pretty solid. And it wasn't. I didn't think that either one of them had a significant advantage enough to be able to submit the other. So I was at
Yeah.
least happy that I covered on that one. Did
Yeah, I was
miss
gonna
on a
say,
couple others on the night.
I thought Cynthia's jiu-jitsu was going to shine more. At least it was sold to me that way. Like, talking about the fight ahead of it, because
Caitlin's good though, man.
she is. That was my takeaway from the fight. It's like, because I've doubted her ever since she lost the championship, because she kind of like got outclassed, right? But you forget how good those girls are holding those belts out there too. So it's like, damn, Caitlin's good, but Nunes and Shevchenko just that much fucking better, bro. Like, you doubt her after this, and she's still just doing it.
Yep, absolutely, man. And then obviously you move up to who what was the next fight after that? What was the big
Perry and
fight?
Tim Means. I could put on this. Let me do this for you. I got you, dog. Bow. Yeah, Perry and Tim Means.
Oh yeah, Perry and Tim Means. I mean, what can you say about Mike Perry's best round of the entire fight was the third round when he
You
finally
think
just
so?
started digging deep.
Oh
Well,
yeah, when they
I think
started
that
fucking banging.
well, I feel like that's the moment where you saw who Mike Perry's first round I thought was really good. I thought that he looked
Yeah,
good in the first round, especially when he took the back and all of that. But there was a couple of points where I was surprised that he got touched up that much on the feet. You know what I mean? Like I was surprised that in the boxing, Mike just didn't look crisp. Like his
yeah,
grappling, his jujitsu looks solid, but for a guy who was for the longest time known as just a knock him down, drag him out brawler, he looked like a guy who was just slow. He was off. He was dull. I mean, you see his fight picture right there. That obviously wasn't from this fight because he was fat as fuck.
yeah, bro. Because I'm so glad you said that. Because yeah, I felt the same exact way. Like watching it, and I think even Rogan said during commentary, like talking about like the conditioning. I'm like, Mike doesn't look conditioned to me. He looks like he took his foot off the pedal a couple times. I think he even had a moment in the second where he almost like went in for a finish and just like, I don't know, wasn't there. He had like rocked him against the cage, and he just didn't go for the kill, or just couldn't. I don't know. It was weird. He was definitely like wasn't the go get him Perry we've seen in the past. Not that he's a go get him guy, but he's a fucking like he'll come after you, and he'll go for the finish.
Yeah, and in fairness to Joe, like Joe said that he looked fit. Well, yeah, he did look like he was strong, but you also have to make the argument, well, you should look like you're, kind of bigger, muscled up when you step on a scale at 175 pounds. Like
Yeah,
that's just flat out disrespectful. I feel like that's something that has to change. I'm a big proponent of the thought process of if you miss by more than a pound of what the contracted weight is, that you should at best be fighting for a no contest.
yeah. So you've been have you ever thought about taking any fights other than like jujitsu competition and stuff like that? You just train jujitsu, or you train
Along with
everything?
I'm a long way from ever being able to do that, man. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
I don't
just
know.
like
Like
fun, right?
that's it. But that's the thing though too is with it's a different sort of situation. Like maybe at a different or different teams or whatever out there, some guys could just say, "Oh, I want to take a fight and be able to, to go out after a few weeks of training and do it." That's not how it works at Factory X. Like it's an entire process that you have to first work to be able to be on the team to represent that X on your chest as far as being a part of
Damn.
the quote unquote fight team. Then once you're on the fight team, you have to be able to establish yourself enough consistently through all of your requirements of making it to your sessions throughout the entire week, along with being able to make all of your strength and conditioning commitments, your individual pad sessions, all of those sort of things like that. That has to all be a system that you're a part of before you're even thought of being in the opportunity or the situation to take a fight.
I
So
guess
that's the
that's a
way it is at
good
our school.
point. Yeah, because he's such a high level coach that like his time to be there for those type of situations isn't like
Well,
he
and we
can't be
have a
spent
whole
preparing it.
staff. Don't get me wrong, but
Mhm.
it's just a thing of because there is like the prestige, and because it really does mean something to to be able to represent Factory X when you walk out there as a fighter. Coach for one, like he's not going to put you in a position to go out there and embarrass yourself, and he's not going to put you in a position to go out there and embarrass the team.
Big facts. Shouts out to Al for you this. He says Joe's commentary was a little weird in my opinion, and I agree actually because I think during the Joe Band fight too, he said that. And I get you watching it live. Actually, yeah, you commentate live, so you probably understand more than I do. But like, I get you can make mistakes because you can only see from that one angle. You're not getting the TV screen. I mean, I guess they do have the monitors, but he said that Gooden was tapping and he wasn't. He was looking to what I'm saying, shrimp off the legs like at that point earlier in the fight. But yeah, his commentary was a little.
Yeah, but in that situation though, like I can't fault Joe. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
he saw the hands go up right there at that exact time during the choke. When it's live, it's tough.
yeah,
You know,
that was a fucking
and
hell of a choke, man.
you
Or
also have to think of it this way though too, in the sense of because of Fight Island and them not being there for basically or him not being in the fold for more than a month and a half. Like
a little
there
rusty.
there yeah, man, when you're not seeing it every single night, it's a different situation.
Yeah. Do you have you ever like made any mistakes or anything like that? I got a call during a fight. We lost him. He'll come back. I'm pull up the rest of his card too. Yeah, but I thought Joe's commentary was a little. I mean, I guess yeah. He put it the right way. Maybe it was rusty, but yeah, there was that. And he said my man was tapping a little bit early. They kind of spun the fight, which it did. It was different for us to see, so I get the overreaction. But when my lady Maya was holding down Shevchenko for as long as she did, I could see where the hype behind that became because we never seen that done to my girl Shevchenko. We've never seen her really like put in those situations. If we have, it's been a while, right? So she's been on a fucking tear, 6-0. She's gonna fight Jessica Andrade next too. Very very exciting fight. Other than that, man, what is next for her? It has to be Nunes, right? But it's crazy, man. These female fights they're on the rise. These female fighters and whatnot. Hope the rest of this card. Hopefully, my man taps back in soon. Courtesy F baby live from the Peanuts comes from the Peanut Gallery. I don't know if his phone died or what. Let me see. True. Hey, I'll offer you this. Where you from, man? Got you back. You good?
Yeah. Sorry, my iPad died. I guess apparently the Mophie died too.
Oh damn.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Sue those motherfuckers.
Right. Yeah, that's my bad. But what were we on?
You hopped away and then what? Hold on, I got to offer you this. He's from Hawaii, bro. I love Hawaii. It's one of my favorite places. Actually, I think you see that Hawaiian Iverson jersey.
That's dope.
Made a porno on that motherfucker. Wait, no. But we were talking about the Shevchenko and Maya fight because we were talking about the commentary for Joe Rogan. He had almost seemed like it turned to like where Maya was like winning the fight, but it was I get the overreaction of that one, right? Because we haven't seen Shevchenko in a losing position like that in a minute. So I feel like some overreaction was warranted because we see her so dominant beforehand.
Yeah, and the thing is Valentina, I feel like she's almost put herself into the position where like You saw it with you've seen it with John Jones, you've seen it with Khabib, you've seen it with some of these dominant champions through time that when anybody has any sort of measured level of success against them, people freak out.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a big deal. There, same thing with Floyd in boxing. Like people always talk about, they point back to, when Zab Judah caught him or Marcos Maidana or some. Well, yeah, motherfucker, those are how many examples and how many rounds of fighting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and I don't discount Maya at all either. She comes out of that shoot box gym where there's so many fucking like legends from there in Brazil. A lot of the legends from Brazil come out of that gym. So I knew she was going to be a somewhat of a challenge compared to the girls of the past. So like it's possible to see stuff like that. But even then, after that, Shevchenko fucking turned it up on her.
Absolutely, especially when you get into championship rounds and the way that she pulled away, like that's why she is who she is.
Yeah.
And again, like the last time that I checked, like the job was to win the fight. Like there's guys like Anderson didn't always have clean wins. Guys like George St. Pierre didn't always have clean wins. John Jones hasn't always had clean wins when you're talking about GOATs. If we're addressing the elephant in the room with that as well, let's talk about Amanda. Amanda got away with one against Valentina.
Bro, thank you, man. Thank you. I'm glad you said that because, like, I remember a while back someone brought it up, Shevchenko versus Amanda, next for Shevchenko and Nunes, and Dana like dismissed it. He's like, "Oh, she already beat her twice. Like the second fight wasn't close, Like I was like, come on.
I thought she won the second fight, man. I
thought she did too.
Completely screwed over by the judges in that fight. I mean, if you were to, and obviously damage is not always the thing that you have to go by. But when you're talking the look of how each of their faces looked when they were reading off the decision, like, bro, Valentina looked like she was barely hit, and Amanda looked like she was a $2 steak that went through a meat tenderizing process.
Yeah, man, it's those situations are always like hairy, because we had the same situation with GSP and Hendricks.
Absolutely.
You have the champion, the guy who won, who looks like he fucking like got his ass, which he did, got his ass like beat throughout the fight, and then you have Hendricks, who like I guess looked a little beat up, but not as much as St. Pierre.
Not anywhere near what GSP did.
Yeah,
he was purple.
Yeah, exactly. And then the main event. My bad, guys. I'm a little delayed because the Rona. I just had dude, this shit's so weird too. Like the pain sometimes comes in waves. Like you're good for a little bit, and then like bam's like, oh, here's your body and headache and eyeballs. It's fucking hurt. It's a regular flu, pretty much, honestly though. But Deiveson Figueiredo, fucking under 2 minutes, finishes the number 2 ranked flyweight in Alex Perez. What'd you think of that?
Bro, the diversity that Figgy has is insane. He obviously has boomsticks for fists, but when you bring in his jiu-jitsu, like he's lethal. You talk about Alex Perez having a great setup on that single leg where he's bringing his leg all the way high. I mean, he did everything right on that single leg while he was in the transition process of using his wrestling to bring him down to the canvas. But when you see
your volume's turning down a little bit.
Oh,
there we go.
When you see Figueiredo take the dip over and counter that with a leg lock, and he starts going down and trying to grab that heel hook, like I got a jiu-jitsu boner from that, man. Like the way that was so seamless, and then they get to the little bit of a scramble, and he hits himself right off and grabs the neck for that guillotine. Like, oh my God, you want to talk about an exchange?
Yeah, it's crazy that this division almost got put away, the flyweight division, because I feel like them and bantamweight, these guys are so fucking highly skilled at all levels of mixed martial arts. And fast, yes, dude. And the scrambles too, man.
Fan of the flyweights. I've always been a fan of the flyweights because of that reason. I was a big Mighty Mouse fan way back in the day.
Man, I wish he was back now too.
It used to piss me off that like they would say that, oh well, he's not a draw. Well, how are you going to make him a draw when all you do is either bury him on the cards when he was on his come up, or any of these guys who he's potentially supposed to face? Like I always point to this exact example, Easy, because this is why I think that the UFC is the reason why the flyweights in the past weren't moving the proverbial needle. UFC Chicago, the night when CM fucking Punk is on the main card, you have Joe Benavidez and Sergio Pettis, who are the top 2 contenders in the flyweight division, fighting on the Fight Pass prelims, on the early prelims, not even talking on the TV
Oh, that's fucked
portion,
up.
the cable portion.
I did not know
We're
that.
talking on the subscriber, like the paywall based on
Yeah.
Fight Pass.
Yeah.
So when you have your top contenders fighting on that slot in the card,
Hype's supposed to sell or hype the fights.
how are you supposed to build them? How are they supposed to grow in the public eye? Because outside of the hardcore fans, I recognize that there's not that many people who are tuning in at 4:30 when the main card starts at 8.
It's a fucking shame though, too, man, because I feel like it just left such a bad taste in Mighty Mouse's mouth that like we might not be able to see him come back and fight, a Figueroa or maybe even a third shot at Triple C. Yeah, sucks.
Yeah, I don't think they ever will. But hey, best of luck to Mighty Mouse, because he does deserve his place on that greatest of all time list. Like what he was able to do in that fight with Ray Borg, man, that was arguably one of the dopest finishes that I've ever seen. Like it's a top 10 for sure. I'm not gonna say it's the dopest, but it was one of the. It was definitely one of the most entertaining finishes that I've ever seen.
Wasn't it like a suplex thrown into an armbar or some shit like that?
Yep, it's exactly what it was.
Oh man, I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. I want to play it so bad. Oh man, I'm not gonna do it because I already got a strike one time. I totally forgot. We were actually waiting for Josh. We were because that hour difference, me and Baby Hulk. So we were just watching Connor and Poirier 1. And I wasn't thinking. YouTube just booted us right away. And I was like, fuck. I got copyright strike. Next one again, I can't post for like a week. So I'm like, I can't have that happen.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
But I want to watch that fucking highlight right now so bad.
Yeah, man. So I see you got is that like your wall of influences behind you? Is that Rodman? Okay, I thought that was Isaiah for a second.
Yeah, I mean, look, Isaiah's 11.
Okay, I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember that far back. But
I started the podcast, man. I just had like a couple jerseys in my closet, and like my plain ass wall was like kind of boring looking, so I just threw up some jerseys, and we got some merch now too. Shout out to anybody watching. You want some Speakeasy merch? I might get some Hawaiian floral jerseys. That actually would be dope as fuck to do. But yeah, I got Rodman, Shaq. I'm rocking Vince Carter, Toronto's jersey. We got. All right, I have to ask you a question on one. I'm gonna grab it real quick because I just never know how it's gonna be perceived, and I got it when I became a dad too. So hold on, let me grab it real quick. Do you watch a lot of basketball?
I watch absolutely zero basketball at this point.
Okay.
Like I'll watch some highlights every now and then, like they get shared on social media. I used to be a huge basketball fan back in the day.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, like once the way the free agency's kind of gotten with the NBA, it's
big market teams.
Yeah, it just kind of turned me away at once I watched through the initial wave of the Heat Big Three sort of time.
Yeah.
But then that even still then it was like, man, like I'm a Jordan and a Kobe era guy. Like those guys who, yeah, I don't have anything against anyone who goes against or who goes out and, leaves and goes to a different team. Don't get me wrong. But the fact of, you got to call two of the other top guys from your draft class and go to the same spot.
Yeah.
Like that was my kind of sort of thing, especially in the NBA where it's such a superstar driven league. Like there's only 5 people on the floor at once, and you're going to have, 3 1%ers of the league on one team. And the way that it became with the Warriors, the Warriors obviously like they started off homegrown, which I thought was dope.
Super dope.
Then when you have I
Kevin Durant,
I always loved KD, but I thought that was a bitch move, man.
That was a bitch move, man. LeBron's was like, it's weird because it's weird that I feel differently about each of them because it is kind of the same thing. But LeBron's, I kind of understood as like, fuck, you've been at this like your home franchise, the Detroit Lions of the NBA at that point, like the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he took them to the finals. He's been like took him to elite levels and just failed him to get him another piece or to get that to hit that over the top part, and then he dipped for the fucking, like you said, two of the other 1%ers of the league. And there was boys though, so I was like, maybe just want to have fun. With KD, bro, it's like you almost beat this team the year prior. Like we were one game away, and then you joined them, and they had the best record in the NBA the year prior. It was like it was different for me. I mean, my trip, it's definitely different, right? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong in that. I just the whole thought period of like the just teaming up with all the best guys. Like, I don't know, like maybe that's just the competitor in me. Like, or the how everybody is just such like the kind of like super good friends, and like we're gonna go on each other's yacht and fucking circle jerk it, and then we're gonna all be buddies. Where just it's like you have that Bad Boys Rodman jersey up above your shoulder, like back in the day, like those sort of teams. Like, nah, it was real, man. Like rivalries were real.
Yeah.
If you got to play, and I guess a big part of it too is the physicality has gone in basketball. And I just look at some of the flopping.
Bro, that is some annoying shit too. It's like, cause like even without flops, they call some fouls. They're just like, what? Like what the fuck? What did you even see there? And I'm from Detroit, where like the championships we have won have been like the fucking roughneck bad boys, like go and get them work. Pistons in 04. Like we had to play defense, and physicality was key, and it's like not allowed anymore. So it's like fuck, like the only way we've won here without superstars has been that,
Yep, exactly.
All right, but I gotta ask you, man, how's this jersey perceived? It's out cold, right? It's the Miami Vice jersey. 19. That's not a player you recognize, right? But 19, your boy became a dad.
Okay.
So I got that. Now, if I hung it up, people would be like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Is this guy calling some of the guy's daddy? Like, what's going on there?" Like,
yeah, I probably wouldn't hang it up with saying "daddy" on the back.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's why I haven't let it happen yet. And then
I totally like it's a dope sentimentality and all of that, but it might just, if someone were to see the thumbnail and not know the context behind it.
Yeah, definitely. We gotta do this more often, man. I appreciate having you on.
Hell yeah, bro. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, man. Anything that you got coming up you want to shout out, or anything on your YouTube channel that people should go check out? Or
yeah, you check out the YouTube channel, Comments from the Peanut Gallery. Check us out on Instagram at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. On Twitter, it's at Peanut Podcast. I'm not always on Twitter all that terribly much. It's mostly most of my stuff is through Instagram. But also check us out, the MMA plug presented by DenverSportsBetting.com on Mile High Sports Radio. That is 104.7 FM, AM 13 radio from 7 to 8 p.m. if you're in the Denver metro area. You could also check out the live stream for that on MileHighSports.com. Just click on the live show icon as soon as you're on the website. Like say that's Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. I co-host the show along with the voice of the Legacy Fighting Alliance, none other than the legendary Mr. Ron Kruk himself. We do a lot of cool content segments, have just some of the biggest and most interesting guests in the entire sport on the show. So check us out. It's a great opportunity. Learn a little bit about the sports betting angles, see how we see the fights. We always break down the co-main and the main event. We also do a breakdown of either a fight that we have our eye on or a fighter on the card that we like to key our spotlight with. And then my favorite part of the entire show, and we do it usually toward that fourth segment, it's called 3 Rounds. So it's a segment that as a kid, I grew up watching Inside MMA, which was the longstanding show that Ron Kruk co-hosted along with Boss Rutan through all those years. So for me, like the fact that I'm sitting across the desk with him and being able to have this opportunity to just talk knowledge with one of these guys who's a legend in the sport, who's been around for 20 plus years in the game. And we brought back that 3-round segment that they used to do on Inside MMA. So it's just kind of a quick boom, 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 sort of quick to the point. We have a topic that gets presented, and then we share our quick thoughts with it. And it's either, something that is a big time agreement between us, or it's like you are crazy. How could you even think that is a situation? Just like how we did earlier, with Buckley and Krause. Like, you're crazy if you think that they're even in the same playing field when we're talking fight IQ. You are absolutely out of your mind sort of situation.
Yeah.
But
Which
yeah.
I will concede, fight IQ, James may have him there, but in the actual like fight, I wouldn't discount Buckley's ability to put a lot of people to sleep. Not just James
Yeah,
Krause.
he has the type of power that can neutralize any situation. So again, I didn't mean for that to come off completely disrespectfully to Buckley at all,
Good,
because he's a solid fighter, man. Like I say, I tried to kick it off by saying that he is a great prospect. He does have a bright future. He has incredible power, but I think that at 26 years old, and I think that that's fair to say for most fighters out there at 26 years old, you still have some room to improve.
Yeah, tis true. Shout out to Offer this. He said he dropped you a follow. So, and your Instagram is lit, by the way, too, man. It's a fucking Instagram's a grind, bro. I gave up. I didn't give up. But just like it's not a monetizing platform like YouTube or anything like that. And this is like what I like to do more so than it's fucking hard, bro. It's the news cycle for MMA and keep people entertained with memes. You don't want to offend like too many fighters because you want to be in that space. You don't want to get your ass kicked by Joaquin Buckley. And they're like, I was like,
See,
I'm
for me though, man, like I'm the same person wherever I'm at though. So if it's
Same.
something that I would say on there, then I'm not like I would say it straight up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna play pussy when it comes to some sort of situation like that. Like anything that I've said on, like I talk in front of a camera and a microphone a lot. So there's gonna be some times where people get pissed off and they don't like what I have to say. But at the same time, like I stand behind what I do, because more times than not, if you're gonna talk to me about a fight analysis or somebody like, I can tell you why I think that he has room to improve. Just like there, like I'm not just gonna sit there and say, oh, he's trash.
Mm-hmm.
And not have something to substantiate or anybody, say
A
like,
reason behind it.
he's mediocre, whatever. I'm going to have some sort of breakdown or analysis behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. What is, and this kind of me is asking like, and you can get going too. I don't mean to hold you because I know you're on your phone at this point too, but like, what's that transition like? Did you go to school for like broadcasting or anything like that? Like the transition to actually being on camera and live with, your idols and shit like that. Like any best practices for you? Because I'm in a similar situation now too, here locally, where I have an opportunity like that. And I want to be just as good as you are if you've been looking.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. I honestly, I just did it. I'm not traditionally trained. Everything that I've done, I've learned on my own through either trial and error or looking up YouTube videos or tutorials online, like that sort of stuff. Do I have? I do have a college degree. I do have, but my degree is journalism, technical communication. But I was a marketing and public relations emphasis when I went to school. So I never learned anything in relation to production software or doing any of the stuff that I do now.
Yeah.
And as far as like any of the camera work or any of my short film productions or that stuff, that was something that I started doing initially to be able to promote the podcast, because I wanted to be able to have my own original content. I didn't want to always be that guy who had to, rip other people's photos or all that. So I have my own sort of content. And then it just so turned out that after I started learning the craft, that I had a little bit of passion for it, and that I had a kind of, a knack for it. And through a lot of time, effort, putting in the sweat equity, just years now, hours upon hours upon hours out there filming and just testing shit out and working on the skill behind the lens, working on my craft in the studio with the production side of things, doing video edits, figuring out how to master sound, light grading, doing all those sorts of things. And I've still got a long way to go to improve myself. I've only been doing it for a little over 2 years as far as the actual like camera side of things.
Yeah.
So I feel like though I've came a long way in a short amount of time, but it's also because I put that work in, 6-7 days a week for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
As far as with the talking side of things, that's when I started. This was 3 years ago when I started the Peanut Gallery. But as far as I didn't start doing the camera side until like a year in, or close to a year in.
Best interview on Peanut Gallery for me to check out.
Best interview. Oh man, there's a lot of great ones that are out there, but I think that some of the best knowledge. Again, it's
That's what you're looking for.
Oh, bro, you're gonna, yeah. Like I say, you're gonna laugh at this one because one that always sticks out in my mind is James Krause.
He's on there.
Yep.
Bet.
So my podcast with James Krause, I learned so much about life in because he talked about a lot of things. I try to not talk so much fight heavy things, especially if I have a guest that's in studio. I like to peel back the layer of the onion a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to know what makes you you. Because you're gonna do 1,000,001 of those pre-fight interviews where you ask and have to be answering the same 10 to 15 questions.
Yeah, I hate doing that, man. I hate doing that to guys.
I try to bring almost the JRE type of approach that I want to peel the layers of the onion back and I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
And so James is huge into business. He's huge on being able to create a blueprint for people to have success for their life. He always shares success tips or business, things about his business acumen on his Instagram. And so I asked a couple of questions along those lines about different financial routes or for people out there that are maybe within the fight game and who have this income relation, if you will, because a lot of people who don't live in the fight world don't understand how sometimes these guys are balancing a couple of different jobs that you're working odd hours and part-time or sometimes cash gigs, whatever, so that you could be able to work it around your training. So I asked him, what are some of the best ways that you can be able to, in an unstable world of a fighter and a fighter's income, create financial stability for yourself? Like those sort of things.
Yeah.
And he went in on a full 10-minute Gary Vee style rant about business and investments and that sort of thing. Like talking about how you need to start putting money into assets, things that are going to produce cash flow. Don't think cash is king, think cash flow is king. That sort of thought process. Putting your money into something that's going to yield a return. Like just going into depth about real life concepts. That one stuck out to me. One of my favorite guys in the world who he's always had a special place in my heart, Jordan Totoni. When you hear that man talk, that's a guy who is a true warrior. Just you hear what that code is. You just feel the passion in a man like that's voice. And anytime you have Youssef Zalal, Youssef's one of my best friends in the world. I fucking love that kid. He's a lifesaver for me.
Hilarious.
Oh, just purely hilarious. Anytime that you even put the camera on Youssef, you're gonna have entertainment.
Yeah,
you have entertainment, plain and simple. So, any episode that you check out with him is great. Dustin Jacoby. If there's not a better storyteller out there in MMA than Dustin Jacoby.
But I'm definitely. I think I'm gonna hit up James Krause's interview first, just because that's the first one he said. And we were talking about him too. But I got that from him too, from his stint on The Ultimate Fighter, because there was a situation where he had to be there, and he was kind of like upset in the fact that he had to be there, but he also at the same time was like a marketing opportunity for him too. So I was like, okay, this guy thinks differently. Yeah.
Yeah, he talks about that on the podcast. So yeah, that I think you'll dig that because he goes into detail on exactly kind of what the thought process was behind that.
Yeah. Well, fuck, man. We gotta do this more often, man. Whenever you're I just did this. I just hit you up literally like anybody's watching, just before probably 10, 20 minutes before we actually went live.
Yep. So I say, man, stay ready so you don't got to get ready. I'm always here to get down. So anytime you want me, brother, come back.
For sure, man. And anything you ever want to hop on to, just reach out, man. We could do it. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, brother. Good talking to you, man.
I'll see you, brother. Better. Thanks, man.
Yep.